Hi, everybody. Welcome to a special update on the noble political arena. Sophia,
Yes.
not shocking. Supreme Court knocked down the tariffs. And it took Donald Trump almost, well, let's see here. I assume he rolled out of bed. Somebody helped him get his pajamas off, put his tie on him, and he rolled it to a press conference an hour or 2 hours later, knowing they were going to say no, and threw on a global tariff of 10% on everybody.
So that's not really what happened, but you're close. So what happened is that he was in the governor's breakfast meeting with all the governors. They had kicked the media out of the governor's breakfast. Like I literally saw that happen around. It was like 10 o'clock this morning, whatever it was. And he told the media to leave, so they ushered him out, which is ridiculous. But
Hmm.
about literally 20 minutes later, the Supreme Court comes out with this decision. And of course, all the reporters who had been kicked out of the meeting with the governors were in the White House press room and got the download from, their people who cover the Supreme Court. And it was a 6-3 decision, which I thought it was going to be 9-0 or 7-2. I was very surprised
Oh,
that
yeah.
even Alito and Thomas, who again say they are textualist, originalist. How the hell does an originalist and a textualist not agree that tariffs is an Article 1 congressional function? I don't know. But I was a little surprised that Kavanaugh, that
Yeah.
surprised me because he tends to be somewhat in that camp of Roberts and Coney Barrett, where those three kind of end up being the same. So I thought it would be a 9-0 or worse 7-2, right? So it was 6-3. And it was the right decision. Trump took about, oh, maybe it was 10, 15 minutes. I think he bolted out of the governor's breakfast luncheon thing and went over and held a press conference with his economic team, commerce and, treasury, etc. And of course, decided he would defy the Supreme Court, and even went as far to say, this clip went viral, that he can do whatever he wants. He can ruin the United States if he wants. He literally said that out of his mouth, that I can do whatever I want to do. I have the power to ruin the United States if I want to, and I can do whatever I want. That's it in a nutshell. That is this man's ethos, his presidency, his outlook is that he can do whatever he wants. So, I'm not sure what happens now if Congress doesn't step in and double down and say, hey, back off. We have the power of the purse. You're not transferring anything, you're not doing any tariffs, and you're out of line. I'm not really sure what happens now because we've never had a president do this before.
Well, you're a constitutional lawyer. So let me ask you this. Is there any gray area in the Article 1? Is what he's doing, is there some gray area somewhere that he thinks he has the power to do this that no other president has done in the way that he's doing it? I mean, is there anything
Listen,
there?
there's always gray areas, right? If he were, let's say, for example, that he wanted to be punitive on a country like Iran or Russia or whatever, and they had done more nefarious things than they do on a regular basis. And let's say the United States had assets and whatever, that we can cut off their banking, we can seize assets, we can do those kind of things, right? So a president has some economic powers, if you will, when
Hmm.
it comes to how he can deal with foreign policy. That's a fine line though, okay? And it really works the way I said. He can use it to take punitive measures, to seize
Strategic.
assets. Yeah, and
Strategic. Yeah.
you do that through the Treasury, right? You do that through the US Treasury Department. But when it comes to tariffs, that is in the sole purview. And I thought Justice Gorsuch said it best in the majority opinion. And everybody should read what Justice Gorsuch said. He said, listen, I'm sure those of you who are pro tariffs are going to be disappointed, but I don't know how to break this to you any simpler. This is not something that is in the power of the hands and the purview of one human being, the president. It belongs to the Congress, intentionally so,
Hmm.
because that legislative process is debated and they go back and forth and the people have a say. And we kept it that way from our founding for a reason. And so Gorsuch was real clear. He didn't like the way that Trump has been using this as a stick
Yeah.
and a carrot to just beat people. Like, he was on a phone call with what, the Prime Minister of Norway or something, and he didn't like the way she spoke to him or talked to him. So he slapped tariffs on her. You can't run America that way. You cannot
Mm-mm.
run foreign policy with a stick and a carrot, and I will beat you with this, and I will get you with this if you don't do what I like. And that's what he's been doing. So I think the court was correct. Is there an area where the president can use tariffs? Yeah, if he goes down to the Congress and says, listen, we need to work on a way to do this, this, and this because I don't believe that the United States is being treated fairly in our trade policies. Hence, I would like to see some tariffs put on, this list of countries. Congress can do that for him, and then he can sign the act.
Mm-hmm.
That's how our system works. It is a checks and balances, a bicameral. It is a check on powers constantly so that nobody ever overreaches and goes too far. And even when the Supreme Court has the final say to interpret the law, the Constitution, the Congress always really has the final say because if they don't like something, they can do this thing called a constitutional amendment,
Mm-hmm.
or they can pass another law, and then it
Right.
can go right back, and the court can say what they think about it. So, you know who's the weakest of the three branches of government? The executive.
Mm-hmm.
The courts are very powerful as the arbiter, as the interpreter, and the Congress has the power of the purse and the power to declare war. The executive is the weakest for a reason. And we did that because our founding fathers in our 250th year and all their wisdom understood that one day we would get a Donald Trump. They knew it. They were
Mm-hmm.
sure about it. Read their writings. And they wanted to make sure there was a check. There's an impeachment clause, there's a removal clause, and now there's even a 25th Amendment, right? That a president can be removed from office for any number of mental defect, da 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 da, right? So the executive is weak in our form of government for a reason, whereas in Britain, in the UK, the prime minister is the strongest unless his poll numbers tank or her poll numbers tank, and we've seen that, and then they call for an immediate election and the party gets, votes in someone
Kick out.
else.
Right. So,
So, you know,
so a couple of things I've read, and I do want to comment on this. Apparently, a number of Republicans right now in Congress are trying to uh, get the tariffs passed through reconciliation. So, for those that don't know, in a reconciliation bill, unlike other spending bills, it can go through with a majority in the Senate. I don't think the numbers are there.
okay,
Rand Paul's already come out against it.
just
Susan
remember
Collins came out against it.
2 weeks ago, they already voted in favor of the tariffs. The House did. You understand that, right? This
Yeah.
is in just 2 weeks ago. And Thomas Massey's been tweeting about it all day, kind of smirking, laughing because there were only 6 Republicans who voted against it. The Senate is going to have the final say, and it's going to be Murkowski, and it's going to be McConnell, and it's going to be Collins, who's up for a tough reelection. She has no margin for error. There's about 6 Republican senators. You got Tillis on his way out. He doesn't give two damns about anything
Mm.
anymore. They're going to shut him down. So I think that, there are ways to look at emergency powers, which is what this workaround was supposed to be, but that's not how he's used it. And so that's why the court struck it down.
I've got to, and I had, as soon as they came out and I read about the tariffs, and I've had this idea for a long time, that what he's going to do is what Donald Trump has always done. He knew he was going to lose this. He knew he was going to lose this, Sophia. He knew he was going to lose this. And he had a plan already in place to put in, as we're seeing right now, these 10% tariffs, okay, which the courts will probably find that he can't do because it's another global 10% tariff. And he'll lock it up in courts. It'll take months, years, and then he'll lose that one, and then he'll do something else to lock it up in courts. I mean, this is something he's done. I'm not even talking about in politics. Before he was in politics, this is his MO. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him doing exactly what he's doing right now, just to get his way and using our system against us to lock this thing down. And
Well, I think he's got a couple problems. One, the highest court in the land has spoken and they remanded it back to the lower court, okay? And what that means is they've told the lower court, I guess, to work out the solution that they won't touch. They're not gonna weigh in again. The ship has sailed. Read my lips. The ship has sailed on whether or not he can do this. That's done. He cannot. They've struck that down, okay?
right.
The problem now is money's got to be paid back, which is if you read Kavanaugh's dissent, that's his problem. It's a mess. Well, that doesn't mean you still don't uphold the Constitution because Trump created a mess. So you're going to have a plethora of lawsuits now from all kind of people, class actions, because they want their money back.
Yeah.
Because these were illegal tariffs, right?
Yeah.
So you're right. This is going to be tied up in court, but not the way you think. The United States of America is going to be on the hook for some serious money and some interest because our president illegally used and implemented tariffs. And the people who picked up the tab were we the people. So I think that he is out of court opportunities because the highest court has weighed in and it's done. Now, here's the problem. He comes on TV and says, huffs and puffs and blows the house down and says, well, I am just going to override this and I'm going to do. The executive can't do that. And the way you have to check the executive that's rogue is Congress has to weigh in and do something. Understanding that the Republicans are in control of the House and Senate, I don't know what they're going to do. So I guess they're going to give the Supreme Court the middle finger too, which means we're in a constitutional crisis. We have a true crisis between the checks and balances. The Supreme Court is weighed in. That should be the final say. You do what the courts rule, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Only way you override the court is with a constitutional amendment, the Supreme Court. You got to have a constitutional amendment. So,
and there's no way that's going to happen. Ain't no way they're going to get it.
Well, you and I agree, but with these dumbasses, I wouldn't be surprised if they were so ridiculous that they didn't go and say, yeah, we'll do a constitutional amendment to take away our own power and give it to him. That's what we're dealing with. We are not in a rational, normal 1980s, 1990, early 2000 world. That is not the world we live in now. It's not.
100%. So everybody that's watched this, I agree with her. I assume I'd love to hear your thoughts. It's kind of hard to disagree with a constitutional lawyer that knows what she's talking about. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We will certainly be talking about this a lot on the political arena. So again, please subscribe to our channel. You'll see it right there. You can stay up with the latest news and what's happening. And thanks, Sophia, for joining us and doing this real quickly. It's going to get interesting.
My pleasure.
All right, take care. The No Bull Political Arena is on all major social media platforms. Make sure to give us and your host a follow.
Hey everybody, this is Sophia Nelson. Follow me at I am Sophia Nelson on every one of my social media platforms.
I'm Bill O'Reilly, and you can reach me at Twitter at WFBOR.
Hey, this is TJ. Follow me on X or Twitter at TJ McCormack.
This is Brian Mistro, and you can follow me on X at Brian_Mistro or follow along on Facebook at Brian.Mistro.
A No Bull Media Group member.